I promised you boobies by the end of the month and I am copying myself. Great. Anyway, Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus. First, I apologize for the video quality, it's not optimal as I'm still trying to figure out a decent way to record a Vita and the brisk pace of the game does not help. In this transition to the Vita, Senran Kagura gains full 3-dimensional movement while keeping the same basic system. Light attacks, heavy attacks, a homing button, long combos and destroyable clothes. A lot of destroyable clothes. Maybe too many. In my Senran Kagura Burst review, I said that cut hints of destroyable clothes almost ruin the flow of the game, and, well, in Shinobi Versus they definitely are. After a short period of time you'll know when this will happen, and in the vast majority of cases is right on the ground-to-air combo transition, which really hampers the flow of the combat. They are skippable and I found myself skipping all of them. The first Senran Kaguras are good games even without this kind of thing, and still hold somewhat true for Shinobi Versus. Still on destroyable clothes, things have gone a bit off the scale. Every outfit no longer simply has 3 stages, but each has 3 upper and 3 lower stages, plus a 4th stage triggered when defeating someone with a special attack. This leads to a very personal opinion. Probably Senran Kagura is a bit too much now. I mean, it was over-sexualized from the beginning, but right now I feel that it's gone too far and that the fan service aspect is taking over the game. The impression is strengthened by the new characters, with some of them, like Shiki and Riona, completely over the top, even for Senran Kagura standards. I like some of the new designs, like Imo and Murakumo, but like some aspects of the game, I can't really shake the feeling that Marvelous is now chasing fanservice more than anything else. You might know that an anime series based more or less on the first game was recently aired, and part of the characterization went into Shinobi Versus, and I don't remember characters to be so fanservice-y. It's a kind of a strange feeling. In Shoujo Tachi no Shinei and Guren no Shoujo Tachi, the characterization was simple but consistent. Here the writers seem to have favored the most exploitable part of every character, while introducing new faces that further push the game into what I feel is the wrong direction. I'll say it again, this is a very personal opinion, but in my eyes, this is the wrong way to expand the Senran Kagura universe. Back on the game. So, the system is largely unchanged, but rather than dealing with a scrolling beat-em-up, enemies come from all directions, thus leading to the addition of a controllable camera. I hate Shinobi's Versus camera. It is possible to lock onto a target by tapping it on the screen and then use left and right on the D-pad to change targets. Targets are also automatically changed when one is killed and also dictates where homing jumps will go to. This works well with the new rating system that favors clearing time, and zipping from enemy to enemy has its charm. The main problem is that, locked or unlocked, the camera is desperately helpless when backed up against walls or objects, often masking everything. Also, locking requires to move thumbs, usually to the center of the screen, not exactly an easily reached location. The lock indicator is also very subtle, and it's kinda hard to see if and where it ended, especially when facing a strong opponent surrounded by the usual mobs. When engaged in duels, the camera does its job, and it's vital, I'd say, but the environment must be free of obstacles, or the results can be pretty bad. I found out in these cases that it's better to remove the lock-on, get a better overview of the situation and plan your escape route. Unfortunately, this means few more seconds are spent on aiming the camera back where the action is. Lock is also broken when the target is far away and the camera itself is strangely shy of increasing the viewing angle when targets jump. I think that the camera is too close on the character, and by locking on, you trade some freedom of movement and how to rack up combos, which is a debatable trade. When playing in closed stages, I've always skipped locking on to avoid having to deal with the camera behavior and constant locking and unlocking. One other big letdown of the game is that the single-player portion is devoid of challenge. Shinobi Versus has the same level system and yin-yang mechanics of the previous game, the main problem being that ditching clothes for offensive power is not as detrimental as in Guren no Shoujo Tachi. There, going yin meant to be constantly mobile and on the offensive, keeping a sharp eye on your health meter. In Shinobi Versus, even during the last missions, Yin mode allows endless combos of incredible destructive power, with no real loss of defense, which can be partially due to the high levels characters reach.
やりすぎてもうたかな。
The game offers 6 chapters for each of the 4 schools, and all characters have a set of 5 personal story missions. Enemies do not adapt to a character's current level, so completing story mode before the personal missions, or vice versa, will result in a character being overpowered for one of the 2 modes. The only challenge that single-player mode offers is to score high ranks in all missions, but is made incredibly easy in Yin mode, as the main factors are clearing time and damage taken. There is the possibility to increase mission difficulty, but I think that games must offer the correct amount of challenge in their normal difficulty setting, rather than relying on hard modes to lengthen the challenge. Shinobi Versus also offers an online mode, something that was sorely missing from Guren no Shoujo Tachi. The implementation is a bit awkward though, mostly due to character and yin-yang balancing are at the moment. Yin is extremely exploitable, less than in single player, but it's still not perfectly tuned. Characters with far-reaching weapons have a distinct advantage over others, and though there aren't massive imbalances, the online play still needs tweaks. Luckily, Marvelous is releasing patches almost constantly, and each improves the situation. But be warned, there are many players abusing wall pinning and a certain character with projectile weapons.
嫌に決まってるでしょ。なんであげなきゃいけないの。いいでしょ。未来ちゃんはよくここに来て。
All characters have their counters, just don't expect an incredibly refined system. Shinobi Versus setup probably works better than a bidimensional environment, at least for Senran Kagura's system, allowing for ample escape routes and a relatively shallow introduction curve. If you are lucky with your opponents, that is. Other than that, Shinobi Versus is still a Senran Kagura game at its heart. Combat is fast and it's fun to rack up huge combos. The transition to full 3D environments meant that all characters have been modified to accommodate for the extra dimension, and one of the aspects of the game I liked more about the first 2 games, how combos and special moves improve over time, is still present. Despite the cast doubled from the previous game, characters play very different from each other, and in fact, developers had more freedom on how to customize each girl, and subsequently, the variety of play really shine in this game, more than on the 3DS. If you are able to forgive how the camera works, Shinobi Versus is still mindless, fast-paced fun with a lot of fan service. Going on the technical side, it's impossible to deny that the Vita and its screen create an overall good-looking game. Main characters are well animated, modeled with a large number of polygons and with crisp and detailed textures. Enemies haven't received the same level of attention, but they look a bit better when compared to their 3DS counterparts. Backgrounds could have used some more work. Some terrain textures are very bad, most design are rather uninspiring, and decorative objects often act as invisible walls when they shouldn't. Narrow environments, like classrooms, are more chaotic than others due to camera problems, and one setting, the Hebigakuen, has ceiling decorations that block movement, which is not exactly a great thing. As with the online mode, settings could have used a bit more thought and playtesting, so that all would have been on a common ground. Sorry for the pun. Some are simply more fun to play due to the lack of obstacles, as obstacles themselves do not play a vital part in the game mechanics. I've already said about character design, and jiggling once again has gone up a notch, and now I feel it's almost disturbing. I know it's kinda silly complain about the over-sexualization of an already over-sexualized product, but Marvelous have gone too far for my tastes. Voices continue to be great, and they fit their characters extremely well, no matter how disturbing said characters might be. The soundtrack isn't any different from previous games, it does its work without breaking any new grounds. One thing I don't like is that if dialogues during personal missions are interrupted by a cut-in, they start from the beginning, which become annoying instantly. Shinobi Versus is fun. There are no game-breaking defects, but no extremely good point either. Some of its aspects are up to personal tastes, and in Serran Kagura, character design is a pretty important thing. Should you buy it? If you have the chance, yes. I still recommend Guren no Shoujoutachi over Shinobi Versus though. It was more challenging, combat felt tighter, characters, in my opinion, were better developed, and loading times were better. Okay, I'm slipping it at the very end, but this is my first Vita game, and for a cartridge-based game, loading times are pretty huge. I can't make any direct comparisons yet, but yeah, loading times could have been better. Serran Kagura Shinobi Versus could have used a bit more refinement, and the hope is that things will be worked out for the inevitable next game, on whatever console it will be. Wii U, perhaps? Briareos Kerensky, over and out.